Okay. I'm just in the middle of. Okay. I have a condition called moron brain, where I get very stressed out and anxious whenever I get any kind of spike in social media attention or interest in the project. So it's been a bit crazy for a couple of days. But over the years, I found that the best way of getting through that for me is to work on new blockhead features. So I just started working on a new thing as a bit of therapy. It would be nice if bug fixing had the same effect, but it has the opposite. Bug fixing makes things worse, unfortunately. So I know Mac OS users are having a bad time at the moment. I'm not fixing those bugs yet. I'll get to it. So what I'm working on is something I've been planning for ages, which is the ability to save and load blocks to files. And there's a bunch of complications with that. So you should be able to, here's a block which is a sampler block, for example. So it has a sample associated with it. So you should be able to right click and say save to file. And it save it as like a .block file or something like that. Although it could probably use the same file format as the project files actually, because I would like to be able to save macros to files, obviously. That would be really useful. And a macro is basically like a mini project. So I could even use the same file format as the project file. There's this .blockud extension. And then you would have the option of like loading a macro as a project and vice versa. Loading a project file as a macro. Project file basically has the same data in it as a macro would, except project file has multiple workspaces and the input configuration. Anyway, yeah, so you should be able to right click, save block. Then I need to pop up a dialog and say, do you also want to save the sample data inside the block or not? If not, it will just save an empty sampler block, and it would still, when you load it, it would still have automation, but it wouldn't have a sample associated with it yet, and you'd have to associate a sample manually. Right. So, the issue that I'm working on right now, there's a bunch of stuff that I have to deal with before I can start working on this properly. If a user saves a block with the sample data associated with it, and then in another project they load that same sample, and then they load the block containing the sample data, I don't want to load the same sample twice. I should detect that the same sample is being loaded. At the moment I have a very primitive thing, which is not correct actually, which is in the current version of Blockhead, if you load a sample from a file, Blockhead will make a note of the file path, and if you try to load the same sample again, Blockhead will notice that that file has already been loaded into memory and it won't load it again. That is an incorrect implementation, because obviously what you could do is load a sample into Blockhead and then in another program edit the sample, save it to the same file, And then if you load it into Blockhead again, you would want to have the updated sample, but Blockhead would not see it. It would just see that that file path has already been loaded, and so it would not load it again. So that's incorrect, what Blockhead is doing at the moment. What I should be doing, what I've decided to do is every time you load a sample into Blockhead, generate an MD5 hash and then check it against the list of already generated hashes. And if it already exists, then don't load it again. Or just discard it. You would have to load it to generate the hash, but then you just discard the data instead of keeping it in memory because it already exists. So when it comes to saving a block to a file, which could be one sample block, or it could be a macro which contains many samples within it, I would save all of the hashes inside the file. Just pre-save them. And then check those hashes when we load. So that's my plan. As usual, I started working on that, and I realized like, oh, in order to do that, I need to fix this and change this. But in order to do that, I need to change this and fix this. So I'm like several steps behind step 0 at the moment. I'm at step -3 or something. So what I was doing when I started recording was moving a bunch of stuff into one file because I don't like having stuff into separate files. So I have this file data thing, which is like for synchronous file data loading, and then I have this async file data thing, which I've just moved out of another file, so that's why I'm getting all these compile errors. But this will load file data in a background thread. It just it sends it off to a task queue. There's like a thread that always exists for doing sample loading operations. It does one task at a time. So when you create one of these async file data objects, it will push the task onto that queue. So I was just moving things into I want everything to be in the same place. This thing as well. I've just been fucking around with this. This is not correct at the moment because I've just been like making all these changes and just throwing ideas around for how I want to structure this. And I found this library for generating MD5 hashes here, cool, by Stefan Brum. Thank you, Stefan. Right, so that's what I was doing when I started recording. I literally started recording when I was in the middle of a load of shit. So right, so I'm gonna try and maybe just try to forget that I'm recording and just continue. Although that would be very good if you like actually watching this video. I know nobody watches these videos, but I guess I should try to talk while I'm doing this. It's not very easy. I'll do my best. Oh yeah, that's what I did. I just renamed... Oh yeah, I have this... Okay. File buffer. What do I have to do this now? Nope. Just trying to get into the habit lately of using like strong types instead of using. I was previously just using this using declaration for my buffer type here. Trying to get into the habit of doing this kind of thing, but the problem with that is alright, I'll write a constructor, whatever. Yes. So what I'm planning to do here is somewhere around here over the actual file reading stuff. Yeah, so I have these old functions. This is this just reads the entire file contents into memory. This is a synchronous API, but I will call it from an asynchronous wrapper. So it will be happening in a background thread usually. So I've just modified this so that after I read the data into a buffer, I generate a hash. Oh yeah. That's what I was planning to do. So the buffer is actually stored in this shared pointer here. So what I want to do is I'm going to keep some kind of store. That's a hilariously big font of hash to buffer. In fact, it would be hash to a weak pointer of buffer, like this. Yeah. So it'd be something like, I'd have a store of all these hashes of file data that I've already loaded into memory, right? Then when we load a new file into memory, this is the loading function, we pass in a pointer to this entire store, and after we load, we generate the hash, and then we check for a hash collision at that point. And we're generating this file data object, which has a shared pointer of the buffer here. So when we check for a collision of an existing, we check all of these to see if any of them are colliding with the one that we just generated. And if we find, well, then we swap out this shared pointer for the associated, like let's say I know I'm really not communicating well right now. But I'm a bit sleepy because I haven't been sleeping well either because of the stress. Boohoo, poor me, I know. So this is the file data that we're generating. Let's say this is the file data that we found, which collides with the hash that we just generated. So we just take this shared pointer and we pop it in here. And then we're done, right? That's quite a neat way of doing it, I think. And then I have to bear in mind that there might be threads involved, so I have to put locks around everything, and I don't know. So that's the plan, vaguely. I don't know if that made sense, but which means I'm going to need an API to actually. Oh, I do have an API already to get the actual data. Yep. Okay. File data. File buffer, I mean. This is the actual. All this is doing is loading bytes. In chunks, apparently. Of what size? Oh, it comes from here. Alright. File buffer. And this is that library that I found on GitHub. This thing. So this is not correct anymore, the way I'm doing it here. Yes. Instead of doing that, I should pass it in as a shared pointer. Right. So at this point, yeah, so I'm getting rid of, so what this used to be, if I can undo. This used to be, this is the thing I had before where I have a map of this, these were basically file paths. This is mapping file paths to these async file data objects. Which, like I said, is not what I should be doing. So I've just been noodling around with this. I'm gonna map hashes to, yeah, okay, so I need to move this into, this is the reason why I started moving things around. I want everything to be in the same place. File data store. This is, so I need to delete these files. And this one. I don't want to delete them right now because CMake will have to regenerate and it's just, it takes like a minute. Right. So this is a load of shit at the moment. Let me think about what I need here. Previously I was like generating these async file data objects through this interface, which is kind of stupid. It's not that stupid, it's fine, but oh yeah, here we go. So it's an unordered map of hashes, MD5 hashes, to weak pointers to these file buffers. So it's not going to hold on to the buffers. Like if you load a sample and then undo. If you add a sample to the project and then undo, so the sample doesn't exist anymore, and then do something else so that that branch of the undo redo history is discarded, I don't want to keep that sample data in memory. I'm saying sample. This is actually generic to any file data, but the only thing I use this API for at the moment is samples. So that's why I'm keeping weak pointers. So anytime I'm going to access this map, I'm always going to check if this weak pointer is expired, and if it is, then just remove it from the map at that point. So I need to pass a pointer to this into the file loading stuff. So I pass it in, not here, it would be passed into is file data store a good name for this? It's not really a store, is it? Because this stuff is actually just floating around in shared pointer land. File data. Naming things is so hard. File data hash map. That's fine. Okay. File data hash map. Known files. No. Name buffers. Oh yeah. make cache should be let's move this out of here. File buffer hash fun. That's going to return, what, a shared pointer, I guess, yeah. So it'll be like that. Otherwise, we generate a new one. So, what is it? File buffer. Right. So this needs some kind of refined Let's get rid of this. Lock. Okay. It all seems too simple. Is this actually going to work at all? I have the same thing going on here. Let's just copy paste, whatever. Oh yeah, so this is for doing things async. We're just passing these callbacks to Cool. Yeah, okay. What's going on here? This is squash all this down. So this is where it's being pushed onto that background thread. I don't have to worry about any of this, I don't think. None of this changes. Right, I also need to push the hash onto... Okay, so I actually should be doing this like this. That's fine, okay. Just going to clean up this repetition. Oh, that's why it was static functions. It's because I need access to the constructor. Is this correct? Yes, Europe. We do this. Okay. So now we do add. All right. There we go. I think that all makes sense. But I've changed the file loading interface now, so other parts of the code are going to just break. So let's see where it's breaking. Yes, this thing. Right, how does this thing work now? Reinterpret file bytes dialog. What is this? Okay. I see. So the way this used to work is with the old file data store thing, is I was overloading the square bracket operator, and you pass in the file path, and if the file path did not already exist, then it would begin loading the sample at that point, or it would begin loading the file data, which is kind of neat. But maybe not the best, since things were happening. It makes the code sort of, if you don't understand that's what's happening, it might not be clear what the code is doing. So this would automatically generate one of those async file data objects. when calling the square bracket operator, if necessary. But I don't want that to happen anymore. And also we're not dealing with file paths, we're dealing with the hash. I do still want the file path metadata, but I also want the hash now. Oh, I forgot about how weird this class is. It's just wrapping a shared pointer and then redirecting everything to this internal object. Why did I decide to do it like that? I don't remember why I decided to do that. It might be I think this class is like a victim of some kind of refactoring and ended up looking a bit weird. But anyway, what I need here is nothing, because I just modified this thing. File, what was it called again? File buffer hash. Do I need to include the header, or is it fine? Okay. So. How do we actually do this? Alright, let's be explicit about it instead of trying to do anything. Well, just write a free function. I'm going to write a function that's like oh, this is actually okay. This is fucked up, isn't it? Is it? No, it's fine. Sorry, I know I'm just rambling. Hold on. Just a fucking second. Hold on. What do I want here? If we get to this point, then we already have the file data in memory, because this is the reinterpret dialog. The file was already loaded in memory at this point. It must be. It absolutely must be, right? If it's not, then we wouldn't get to this point. So, let's do the following. Right, and what is this expecting? An async file data. Oh, okay. Right. I see. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, so the interface that I had before was kind of neat in that you could just call that square bracket operator and you'd get back this async file data object. Which might be a newly created object, or it might be a reference to like a loading operation that had already begun before we got to that point. So this is what it looked like. Yeah, it was a shared pointer to one of these. Okay. All right. So actually I do want this again. I was conflating two concepts. This file data hash map and this file data store. This should still be using hashes instead of file paths. I'm like 60% sure of, I'm 60% confident of what I'm doing here. If it's wrong, then I'll find out that it's wrong and I'll just fix it. Yes. So I'm still going to have this interface for this is wrong though, isn't it? It is wrong. It is wrong. But it's fine, because I can just do this. Yeah. Bytes ready. That would be file path. Ah, yeah. Why am I using that? Bytes ready. Right, this is more okay. How do I want to do this? This is okay. I'm going to try to explain in words what the problem is here. In fact, I'll use this. So, in case you don't know, you can just load any file into Blockhead. You can load Blockhead itself into Blockhead. It just loads it as a binary file. And then what you could do is reinterpret bytes to just interpret the raw bytes as if it's a WAV file. Which you shouldn't do unless you are naughty. I have built in naughty features in Blockhead. If you're some kind of glitch musician, you might enjoy this kind of thing. Right. So the issue here is I had this bytes ready function to check whether it's okay to actually pop up that dialogue, I think is the point of this. Can reinterpret bytes. Is that the idea? And what I was parsing to the bytes ready function was the file path, and it was just looking in that map to check if that already exists in that map, I think. Or what was it doing? Hello? Oh, it was actually checking. Yeah. So the async thing has a bytes ready function. So it was checking this. So it was checking first of all if it already exists in that map. And if it did, then are the bytes fully loaded? And then it would add this button to the interface. But now I'm changing things around so that we're not mapping file paths to files anymore. We're just using the hash. But the hash is only generated after the bytes have been loaded. So I'm changing the semantics a bit. So what do I want to do? What do I actually want to do? Like, this is the actual pain point right here. It's the adding of this button to the interface. And also, okay. Oh dear. Okay. So this sample data metadata, wherever it is. Where's the metadata thing? So sample objects can be created before the file has even finished loading into memory. So this would not be filled out until later, until after the file has finished loading. So this doesn't make sense either. Some awkwardness here. What do I actually want to do here? Sample. Okay, I get it. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, this is not a problem. Get rid of this. That's stupid. And yeah, just to have two maps. Hmm. It doesn't make sense, does it? No, it doesn't make sense. The whole point is that I'm also trying to deal with the fact that you can load a file into Blockhead memory, then edit the file outside of Blockhead. No, I'm not going to do any kind of like watching a file for changes and then reloading it. So this is going to have to do, actually. The only place where this is an issue is this reinterpret bytes, I think. I'm pretty sure. This is the only place where this issue pops up. This is the only place where I actually need to have a mapping of file paths. Yeah. I still just don't like this interface. Man, how do I do this? I don't actually know how to write this at all. I wonder if I upload this video and it's like 50-50 of whether I will or not. There might be somebody who actually knows what they're doing who's just like screaming at their computer screen going, "It's obvious. It's obvious how you do it." It's just a bit weird. It's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. Because you might be thinking, well, we have a sample here. Do we not have the file data that's associated with that sample? And the problem is that samples don't necessarily have file data associated with them, because sample data is generated in other ways in Blockhead, not just loading from files. That's why we're retrieving this file data from this map. Because if we get to this point, we do have a sample that has file data associated with it. And the way that association is represented is the sample has metadata. So this get file path will return the file path. What are we meant to do? Make file data. Yes. Right. Oh. Right. I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do here, but I'm just going to start writing things. So I'm going to rename this to a file loader. And what we do is we bring in this. Data hash map, file path map, get rid of this, that doesn't make sense. Okay. Okay. Yeah, this is going to be go.string. Can't be bothered to figure that out. Oh, but then I need a less than. Is this how you do it? path map find. So this is the same as what I was doing before now. This needs more stuff. How is this working? Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yes. Okay. I need this thing. Just in here. I need to put locks somewhere, don't I? Somewhere I need to put some locks. I actually don't, because this happens. There's only ever one loading task at a time, so I don't need locks around that hash map. Yeah, it's all fine. I think I'm sure about that. So yeah, I need to equals info and buffers. This is very error prone the way I've done it. Yes, okay. As long as I be careful here. Right. This is all fine now. So this just goes into here. And then this is my synchronous API here. So I'm going to be interacting with that, with this map in another thread, but I don't need any locks because I have one task thread for sample. It's specifically for sample loading. It just sits there waiting for tasks to be pushed, and it only ever processes one task at a time. And I'm not interacting with this in any other thread. But I'm setting myself up for shooting myself in the foot here. Actually, because I have both a synchronous and an asynchronous API here. If I want, I can just call these static functions to synchronously load file data. Except I can't, actually. I can't do that right now. I am setting myself up to make a mistake. What I'm going to do is write a comment. I'm going to write a big comment so that I don't make a mistake. Basically, it's possible for me to, in the future, accidentally start interacting with this map here in two different threads. At the moment, it's not possible through this API, but I would only have to make trivial changes to suddenly make it possible. This is currently only so I just can't be bothered to add blocks around things at the moment. Oh, this function is fine to call from the UI thread. I would never do that though. I don't ever do any like synchronous file loading. It all happens in another thread. And it's done in a queued way. So nothing's ever stepping over anything else. So there's no need for locking. But it's just good to be vigilant about this stuff. Just make sure you're thinking about it. Right. What was I doing? Lost my train of thought. So this thing, this doesn't exist anymore because I've changed the name of this class. File loader is now called. This is commented out. Sample registry. Okay, I'm going to need to take a 15-minute break for you know what. So I will. Okay, stop the recording here. Alright, what was I doing? Oh yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, this is still going to have the same problem of it's the problem of if a sample changes outside of Blockhead and then you load it again, it's not going to reload it, and it should do. This is wrong, isn't it? It is wrong. This is wrong. Yeah. Okay, I think I understand now. I think I understand. This can reinterpret bytes thing, which controls whether or not that button appears on the interface. This should literally just check if the sample has a file path associated with it. It doesn't have to check if the bytes are already loaded into memory. Okay. So it should be like this. Now again, I think we do want to eliminate this. Let me just think about it. Yeah. Okay, so load. Get rid of this. But we'll keep this loader thing. I'm going to return this async file path. Which is just always going to kick off a sample loading operation. But when it gets to the point of generating that hash, oh my god, this is stupid actually. Right. This is dumb. This is really dumb. Okay. Right. I see what I have to do. One second. Bloody hell. I'm just going to try something and see if it works out. I don't know yet whether it's right. Do like this. Sample data map. Okay, now this is hitting my brain a little bit. So now these sample data objects have file buffer data associated with them instead of file paths. I think that's right. I don't know. I do not know anymore. Okay, here we go. Just while it's building, I'm just looking everything over. To see if I can understand my own code. Try to figure out if things are making sense. None of this stuff has changed, this async stuff. This is going to be broken, right? This is going to have to be so we generate this ID first now. Stop building. File data. Yes. I think that's right. Yeah, so this will always generate a new async file data now, because I'm passing it a unique ID every time. Whereas this one, the reinterpret file bytes dialog, is getting the existing ID for the sample. So that should get the bytes that were already loaded, which should still be in memory at that point. This makes sense, I think. What's going on with the build? Oh no. What is this? Operator, equality operator for variant. Is that needed for a map? What are you talking about? Where's the actual error? Come on. Can you bring me to the actual this unordered map right here? So I need an equality operator, do I, to use unordered map? Is that what it's telling me? Buffer hash. No. Is it a different error? Oh yeah, it is. Okay, cool. Anywhere that I'm doing this, which is just here actually. No. File data. There we go. Now what? What are you crying about? Come on. Okay, here we go. In place this file path. Why? What's the issue? Is it complaining about this? Maybe. Like this. Nope. Oh. This is now an ID. Okay. And now this is what? Typed file data loader. Oh. Right, this should be called get buffer. No, I can't do that. File buffer. Wow. Well, I never. Okay, let's see where it breaks. I'm sure it's going to break somewhere. See what happens when I do this. Okay. What happens when I do this? Okay. Then again. So it creates two sample objects here. But they should be pointing to the same actual sample data in memory. So let's see if it's actually happening the way I want it to happen. Yeah. Let's see what happens here. I bet it's not doing what I want it to. So if I drag the same sample in again, it's creating a hash. Here it is. It's checking if the hash already exists. Oh my god, it does. Oh, that's so cool. It actually works. I can't believe it works. There we go. It just returns it. There's no way this is working. There must be some issue. Because I feel like my brain was only working at like 50% this entire time. It's literally just, yeah. It's just moving in that shared pointer. So this... Hold on, what? Whoa, hold on. Oh yeah, we go buffer bytes. So this buffer here is just being discarded. Which is cool. This is the memory right here that I've just loaded in and generated a hash for. And it's just being discarded at this point. Because we're saying, no, we already know that data. It's great, it seems to work. Seems to work. So these are 4 separate sample objects here, but they're pointing to the same memory. Underneath. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty good. And then I've updated this so that we're no longer mapping file paths to these async file data objects. We're now mapping sample data IDs. Yeah. Because previously I was using that mapping of file paths to data for two purposes. I was using it for the reinterpret file bytes dialog, where I was grabbing the file path from the sample metadata just to retrieve the data. That's basically what I was using it for. But it was also being used here when loading a new file or a new sample from the file system. It was using it to check if the data already exists, incorrectly using the file path for that. And now I know that this will always start a new sample loading operation when you drag in a new sample, and it will load the entire file and then generate a hash and then check it at that point whether it already exists. And if it does, it just discards the data, as we saw. Alright, it seems good. It seems fine. Why is this 0.31? That's correct, right? Yeah, I created a new brancher so that I'm not interfering with main, because I'm going to be doing bug fixes on main as well. Alright. New file data hashing stuff. Yeah, I just realized before I upload that video that I have a bug here, which is the hash to buffer map is storing these weak pointers, and I'm not checking if they're expired when I go to find. So what I should be doing here is if let's go pointer equals this, if expired, or if not expired. Let me do that. Like that. There we go. Yeah, that's it. In fact, no, actually, I need to remove it if it is expired. Let's do this. If expired. There we go. Ooh. I'm not going to test it. If it's broken out, I'll see eventually.